Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the possibility of sharing with you these results. What I want to show is the major outcomes of early heart programs at CCASAnet sites, what we call first wave of heart study. The authors here represent a much larger group of investigators at CCASAnet. We, the authors, have no conflict interest to declare, and we represent CCASAnet. What is CCASAnet? CCASAnet is the Caribbean, Central, and South American network for HIV epidemiology research. CCASAnet belongs to a much larger network, which is the IDEA, International Epidemiologic Database to Evaluate AIDS, and we are the region 2 of that network. 12 networks around the world, and this is Latin America and the Caribbean countries. What are the participants? The participants are sites from Haiti, Honduras, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Peru, and Chile. And we work with the Vanderbilt University, where the central office or headquarters of the network is located, and where the general direction and data coordinating activities are located. What is the background? Expanded access to heart in Latin America began slowly in the late 1990s and picked up speed in the early 2000s. Most patients presented with advanced disease stages, and many antiretroviral drugs used then are now outdated. We thought that characterizing these patients' major outcomes in terms of death, loss to follow-up, viral suppression, and CD4 cell count evolution, plus regimen changes after a decade of heart, situation that at present is not very well defined, might provide insights into their present and future situations and provide information relevant for the management of patients who initiated heart more recently. The methods. The study included adults from 6 out of the 7 sites, 6 CCASAnet sites in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Haiti, Honduras, and Mexico, who initiated heart before the year 2004. We included patients who had received previously antiretrovirals, and most of them were non-heart regimens. The status in terms of active, loss to follow-up, or death, where for each patient was registered at 6 months intervals for 10 years, as well as the CD4 cell count and viral load in active patients. The data plotted I'm going to show for CD4 and viral load assumed that missing values had a similar distribution as those available. We also checked the proportion of patients in first, second, third, or fourth heart regimen, or not on heart, were also measured. Baseline characteristics. This is a very busy table. I'm going to show you just a few things. There were 4,975 patients who had initiated the therapy before the year 2004, 1,700 from Argentina site, 1,400 from Brazil, 700 from Chile, 800 from Haiti, 220 from Honduras, 153 from Mexico. And the route of infection, we had 29% of patients who were homosexual or bisexual, although 32% of these patients didn't have that information at baseline. 23% had AIDS, although again, 38% didn't have that information. That was not registered. Baseline CD4 count, the median was 154 cells per millimeter. The regimen were based on NRTI in 54% of the patients and PI in 40%, although most of them were unboosted PI. 81% of the patients initiated the treatment between the year 1999 and 2003. The results. 4,975 patients, 66% male, met inclusion criteria. And at heart initiation, median age was 35 years, 23 had AIDS, and 45% were not heart naive. At year 1, 3, 5, 7, and 10, overall rates of mortality were 4.2% for 1 year, 6.8% for 3, 9% for 5, 10.8% for 7, and 13.6% for 10 years. And the loss to follow-up rate for the same period were 2.4% for first year, 6.8% for 3, 5% for 10.9% for 5 years, 14.8% for 7, and 24% at the end of the study period. Altogether, 62% remain active in care at 10 years. At the end of the follow-up period, 85% of active patients had a viral load of below 400 copies, excluding Haiti, where the viral was not measured during this period. And I had to mention that missing data, as I explained in the method, were excluded. Median CD4 cell count increased from 154 to 522 cells. Also missing data was excluded. After 10 years, only 11% of patients remain active and on their first heart regimen. After 10 years, 13% were on their second regimen, 12% on their third, and 23% were on fourth or later regimen. Heterogeneity in outcomes between sites was substantial. I want to show these results in figures. This is a figure for all sites where we have plotted the evolution of mortality in black, and the overall mortality was 13.6% after 10 years. It ranged from 3.5 to 21.6% across sites. 24.2% were lost to follow-up, and the loss to follow-up ranged from 4.9 and 44%, that is in light gray. In red, we showed the proportion of patients who had a viral load above 1,000, and of course, all of them had that. By the end of the period, in the active patients, this is in red is a proportion, about 10% of the patients had the viral load above 1,000. In orange, the small amount in between 400 and 1,000, and in green, the proportion of patients who had undetectable viral load below 400. We chose 400 because we started measuring this when the threshold for undetectability was about 400. The black line shows the CD4 evolution from 154 to 522. This is the figure for each country. In the top, we can see Argentina, Brazil, and Chile, and below, at the bottom, Haiti, Honduras, and Mexico. You can see that in Haiti, we only have proportion of patient in care, white, patients lost to follow-up, gray, dead patients in black. You can see the heterogeneity is very marked across the sites. Now the regime maintenance over time. All sites, again, we have the mortality, loss to follow-up, and here we started with all the patients with their first regimen, but at the end of the period, we have 11% in first regimen, 13% in their second, 12% in their third, and 23% in red in the fourth or subsequent regimen. Light gray shows the drug holiday, more than 14 days without therapy. These are per site. We can see here that the site that maintained less the first regimen were Mexico, and those were maintained more frequently were Haiti and Honduras, and Brazil, where the changes were more frequently, and a large proportion of patients were in 4 or more regimen. Our conclusions are that despite advanced disease and use of mostly older antiretrovirals, a large proportion of first HAART initiators in these Latin American cohorts were alive, in active control, and with substantial immune recovery and virologic suppression after 10 years. Early death was a problem, as well as persistent loss to follow-up and frequent change of therapy. As I said, heterogeneity was very marked across sites. I want to thank and acknowledge all the PIs, principal investigators from all the sites, the people from Vanderbilt, the NIH, and all the sites that participate in this study. Thank you very much.